Welcome back, you beautiful souls. Thank you so much for keeping it locked as we start a very important conversation, and hopefully you can play your part this morning as well. I think for most couples, expecting a baby is a happy event filled with excitement in anticipation of the arrival of your little bundle of joy, but the process of childbirth is far from easy, and for many it remains a tenuous, often very painful topic.
Definitely, and infertility is a major reproductive health problem with a lot of different factors. In fact, 1 in 6 couples in South Africa are diagnosed with infertility. What is worrisome is that the number keeps rising, and doctors are uncovering more and more causes of infertility among men and women of childbearing age. Now, today we discuss fertility, family planning, and we have Dr. Joe Potto, a reproductive medicine specialist from Cape Town, Cape Fertility, joining us in studio. And we encourage you to also join in on this discussion. Please share your thoughts, perhaps your experiences with us. You can simply send us a voice note on our WhatsApp line. That number is 063 408 8863. Dr. Joe, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
I always feel like we've got to qualify this with a general thank you for working in this space and choosing to make this your life's calling, because I've had a front row seat to watch this journey unfold, and I didn't realize how prevalent infertility was within kind of a South African context. So that's been a big eye-opener, but it is quite possibly, I think, for the people going through it right now, the women and the couples going through it, one of the most challenging ordeals that you can face in your life, where you're not guaranteed a result. Oh. Let's start at the beginning. What are those factors that determine fertility in men and women?
So I think the first thing one has to consider is age. If that's the only thing you remember, it boils down to age, and men and women. Most importantly, women, because we are born with our eggs. So we have no way of making new eggs.
The time frame, yeah.
And that's it. That's why we call it the biological clock. Men are a little bit luckier in that sense, in that they can make new sperm. So age isn't too much of a factor, but new highlights and new things that are coming out in research is that it is showing to prove that men over the age of 45, they aren't as healthy as what they are when they are 18 or as reproductively fit. But with women, we know it's age, age, and age. So I think if that's the one message that comes across...
That's where you start, yeah.
That's it.
So now we're talking about age without adding pressure, because I always feel like the older generation always asks me, so when are you having children? And at what age, what is the age bracket that is ideal for you, where you're at your most fertile, if I can put it that way?
So I think we have to reflect on 2 things here. Firstly, you have to go back a couple of 100 years. If you look at what our great-great-grandparents did, they had children at 15, 16. That's when they got married and had children. They had 8 to 10 children by the time they were 25 to 30, and they were grandparents at 40. So we know that from the age of 27 in a woman, your egg quality starts to decline. It's not bad, it's still fine, but the graph starts to slowly deteriorate. And after the age of 35, it's really starting to plummet. 37, nosediving. And at 40, you're sitting with less than a 10% chance of having a baby. Now, a woman wanting to have a baby at the age of 40 isn't unheard of. That's what you see and hear nowadays.
Well, it feels like the goalposts keep getting moved, because there is obviously an understanding of kind of where the world is right now. We feel like medicine is moving forward at a rapid rate. We're making more discoveries every day. We're increasing the life expectancy within an African context that's leapt up. Yet we are seeing infertility or fertility decrease within a South African context. Why is that so?
I think it's just because we're leaving it later. If you look at the message that we send to women today, it's not wrong. Be financially secure, be in the right relationship.
For sure.
Follow your career dreams. All of these things have time consequences. Nowhere in that conversation do you sit down your 25-year-old daughter and say, when are you having a baby? Or what are your fertility plans? And yet that could be a dire consequence when she's 38.
You made that choice, yeah.
And now she wants to start having a family. It's not to say you cannot have a baby at 38. It's just going to be a lot more difficult than when you were 30. So is it really a disease, or is it something that we're changing the goalposts, per se? So we're changing the dynamic and therefore making it a little bit more difficult for ourselves worldwide, not only in South Africa.
More difficult, but not impossible.
Aha.
Now, you're talking worldwide, and I think we all probably have watched or know what the movie The Handmaid's Tale is all about. I say movie, the series or the book, whichever you chose to
Harrowing
consume.
either way, yeah.
Is that a potential reality because the rate of infertility is increasing? Could that become a reality where the world's going to struggle to conceive eventually?
Well, you can see where these movie writers actually get their scripts from, because if you look at the last 70 years, our fertility rate has literally halved in the world. So they use a figure of how many children a woman have, and it was 4.7, that was the figure, and now it's sitting at 2.4. So just in those 70 years, you can see there's a decline. But what is driving that decline is developed worlds, where exactly those factors we were talking about, people don't feel the need to have so many children, or they can't because they've left it a little bit later than what they anticipated. And so I think you can see where the script comes from, but I think the world is cottoning on to this, and a lot of the developed countries are coming up with a lot of strategies to overcome this decline.
You know, as you're talking, I know this is a medical discussion, but it seems to be more of a socio-economic study in terms of where your society is and how we're going to have to almost go full circle to be able to interweave support structures so that a woman can have a job and have a baby, that the two don't have to be indivisible. And I think, unfortunately, infertility is very much tied to a woman's worth, not so much a man's, and that's something that I'd like to broach on the other side. But please keep those voice notes coming. 063-408-8863. Give us your perspective.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show, and you're just in time as we continue our discussion on fertility, family planning, and facts. Now we have Dr. Joe Potto, a reproductive medicine specialist from Cape Fertility, and we encourage you to join in on this conversation. Be part of this discussion, share your thoughts, perhaps your own experiences. We would love to hear your comments as well as those voice notes on our WhatsApp line 063-408-8863.
And I think our social media platforms have lit up this morning, which is fantastic. I think it's very much about finding a community when you're going through a journey like this, or at least like-minded people who you can relate to. And we've had some great comments come through on our social media platforms. Michelle had this to say: good morning, Expresso fam, and all the Expressies. Is that what we called? Is that what our fans are called? I love that. Folic acid, we all got to drink. Had a premature baby at 7 months. Told me he won't make it, though, through life, but through God's grace. He is 22 years old today. I love that. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. Then Onela or Tamila saying, good morning. Doctor told me I only had a 1% chance of falling pregnant because I had a 3/4 tube left. Today, my son is 30 years old through normal conceiving. Incredible. Like we said, it's a challenge, but it is not impossible. Thank you so much. Keep those comments coming, and please drop us a WhatsApp voice note. If you don't mind, I'm going to pick up with that because the whole time while you're talking, I'm doing this little socio-economic study in my brain, and it feels like there is almost all of the focus, I would say 98%, on the woman, and that infertility is a woman's issue, or very much tied to the woman's worth, not the men's. Why do you think this is?
I think it's got a lot of historic and cultural roots where that comes from, because ultimately the woman is the one who falls pregnant and gives birth. So a lot of going back in time, in history, they thought it was a woman-related issue. But we now know that it takes two to tango, and it is definitely a 50-50 thing. Women will walk in and say, oh, I think it's my problem, I'm not able to conceive, and actually her husband has no sperm. So the point is we're trying to generally help a couple conceive, and then the emphasis has to be on both parties. The workup has to be, because we know it's a third male infertility, it's a third female infertility, and then a third combined features of infertility that actually
the chemistry, if you will, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So we need to work up the male and the female. I think it's historic that people just put an emphasis on the women. In Africa, though, it's even more so that it gives a woman a sense of self if she's had a baby. In some countries, a woman is named the mother of so-and-so. So she's actually a nobody if she doesn't have a
She's
child.
had that. Wow.
So it goes deep, and I think the education is important, that people realize that actually this is a male and a female issue per se, and it doesn't just come back to the female.
You're going to raise that child together, so you need to enter into that journey together. Exactly,
100%.
I get that. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Joe, something I've been noticing on my personal social media is the people I follow are becoming more and more secure and comfortable to share the fact that they've got the hormonal disorder PCOS or PCOS. To me, it feels like, wow, every other girl on my timeline is
prevalent, yeah.
experiencing it, but they're now finally comfortable to share that. How does PCOS affect a woman's fertility?
Well, in large, it's because you become anovulatory, which means you're not ovulating. So it's not that you don't have the eggs. We just need to get that egg out, because that's really step one. We need you to ovulate to give you that chance of conception. PCOS, yes, it's one of the biggest causes of infertility, but it doesn't mean you will not have a baby. I think even you seeing on your social media what's coming through, the one thing we've learned in the fertility world is you can never say never. You cannot give somebody a percentage chance. But we do use worldwide data to guide people in their decision making. With PCOS, we know it's a hormonal imbalance, but we have ways and means to help women with that.
To balance that out.
And to get them to ovulate. And sometimes it's as simple as that, getting that person to ovulate to give them that chance of conception.
And I suppose, and it's very difficult, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, and we probably don't have enough time to broach a subject as dynamic as this in the way that it needs to, but you almost have to flip the lens that you're looking to say that uncertainty could be the hope, that uncertainty that you can't conceive, even that 1% by one of our admissions this morning, is that hope, but it requires a lot of fortitude, I would imagine, to keep pushing forward. Yeah. You speak about issues that can cloud this area. Endometriosis. 1 in 3 women suffer from this chronic pain. How does this affect fertility, and what role does this play in that fertility journey, in the job that you do?
Yeah. So I think with PCOS and endometriosis, that's what we see really within the fertility world. So we know in the general population, about 2 to 10% of women will have endometriosis. But if you look at women struggling to conceive, up to 50% of them have endometriosis. So we know it's there. The problem is it's one of those difficult diseases that doesn't read a textbook. It's staged from stage 1 to stage 4, but women with stage 1 can have debilitating pain, but she's only got stage 1 disease, and someone could have stage 4 disease and have no pain.
No symptoms.
So it'll present either as pain or infertility or both. That's how we get to see it.
Thanks. You've just given me about 50 new questions that I want to ask, so we're going to have another session here. I'm absolutely loving this conversation. Please, if you have a perspective to share or any questions, we've got the expert here this morning just for you. Please let us know. 063-408-8863. That's the WhatsApp line to use.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked. We are delving back into our discussion on fertility, family planning, and the facts with Dr. Joe Potto, a reproductive medicine specialist from Cape Fertility. And then we, of course, are encouraging you at home to join in on that discussion and share your thoughts or experiences and your insights with a voice note. You can drop them on our WhatsApp line, 063-408-8863, or you can connect with us on our myriad of social media platforms. So let's start right there. What have the people been saying?
Some of our comments. So I'm going to start off with Candace. She says, good morning, Expresso. Lost my little angel girl prematurely 10 years ago. Had 12 miscarriages since. Still waiting for my blessing. And then she says, male factor. Oh,
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us, Candice. And then we got this one coming through from Elaine. And this one says, "Good morning, Expresso. Yes, I conceived only after 7 years of unsuccessful fertility treatment, only to receive an adopted boy in July 2009.
Oh, my
and falling
goodness.
pregnant a month later." I've
Life
heard so many
happens.
stories like that.
Wow.
Cheryl says, "I love," oh, she was commenting on the decor. And then Julia says, "Good morning, Expresso. A good topic. The doctor told me there is nothing wrong with me, but I'm done trying with no luck. It's been 5 years now. I'm just happy to be safe and care for a foster care mommy for children, but I'm also hoping and praying to adopt soon." Oh, so many beautiful options out there and so many heartbreaking stories at the same time. I think the fear is, as a young woman that's yet to have children, I don't know how my journey is going to pan out.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm on contraceptive. I've been on it for years because, you know, there's various reasons why each girl chooses to go on it. But I think there's always that fear in the back of your mind from false information. Does being on the pill affect my fertility? And I'm hoping you will be able to shed some light.
So it doesn't. It really, really doesn't. Contraception is very necessary when you need it. There were 16 million babies born to mothers between the ages of 15 and 19 worldwide.
Wow.
That's a lot of babies to teenage mums. So it's a reality, and therefore contraception is needed.
It's necessary, yeah.
It's not going to affect your fertility. If anything, it's going to substantially reduce your chances of ovarian cancer, endometrial cancer. So unfortunately, contraception got a bit of a bad rap, and actually the information isn't correct. That actually it's very helpful when it's needed, and it's not going to pose a problem later on.
Before we look at boosting fertility, and I would imagine it's also a very individual journey for each person, freezing your eggs. This seems to be something that so many women I know are thinking about outside of relationship when it comes to their own plan for the future. How does that process work, and when is the ideal time to do that? How do you feel about it?
Okay. I am beyond passionate about freezing eggs.
Wow, okay.
Because for me, this is what gives women their options. It
That's
gives
the
them
answer.
their choices of having the proverbial have it all, have a career, have financial independence, find the right partner, but you don't have to necessarily give up on your dream of a family. So putting some eggs on ice, it's a relatively straightforward procedure. Takes 2 weeks. It's really not long. It is expensive though. There is some money to be spent on the medication and the process of taking out the eggs. But relatively, when you're looking at it as an insurance policy, not a guarantee, as women are born with their eggs and they are not all normal. So when we freeze those eggs, we don't know if they're normal or not. The younger you freeze your eggs, the higher the chance that one of those eggs will be normal. So for me, women, if we just knew that that option is available out there, it could change the course of their fertility journey. And from the comments, you can see just what a tough journey, a fertility journey is.
It is a tough one, and I'm just thinking, you know, the younger you are and the better your eggs are. I mean, who has that money to be able to freeze the eggs? And then when you're at the age where you can afford it, your eggs aren't as young anymore.
I think you'd be surprised at what people will spend money on, and if you did the maths and worked out a budget of what you are spending money on and what that investment in the future could be, how you could redirect that funding, I think there is an answer within that. But we got a voice note from Michelle. Let's hear what she had to say.
Good morning. My name's Michelle. My husband, Andre, and I have been married since 2002. Due to family constraints, we were just never able to look at having a baby until we moved up to Gauteng in 2016, and we decided it seemed like a good time to maybe try. Our daughter was born when I was 38, and we also now have a 17-month-old son. So, older pregnancy, definitely got to take care of yourself more. We do know how lucky we are, but totally possible.
Oh,
Yeah, listen, it's that dealing with the 2-year-old when you're in your 40s that becomes quite a physical challenge. I can testify to that, but that's an incredible story, and I love that because life happens.
Yes.
And we don't always get to just plan everything out and pigeonhole it and make it all work out. So you've got to, I suppose, have the hope and the faith that something's going to come your way. To round this off, and I'm sorry, I'm going to put the impossible question on you right now because you have to go through this every day, I'm sure, with your clients. To that person who is sitting at that potentially a breaking point in their own personal journey, what do you say to them you're in the front line of this space. How can they keep hope and stay connected to that goal?
I think the fertility journey is probably one of the hardest that any couple will go through. And unless you've been there, it's very difficult to understand exactly what that entails. You don't realize that shopping for baby clothes or looking at baby clothes, going to baby showers, everyone pregnant around you, it really does take its toll. And it's not for a month or 6 months. It's invariably years and years and years. So I think it's find the person you want to do the fertility journey with. It's a long journey. Lean on them, get support, speak about it, be open. You know, a lot of girls will be like, oh, I'm not trying, but they actually are seeking fertility treatment and dying inside and just need somebody to say, it's okay. And it may very well happen. We can never say never. You hear of those stories, so you just don't give up hope.
We've seen those stories.
We've seen it.
Someone was given a 1% chance. There is always hope. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. This has been such an enlightening chat. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Well, there we go, Dr. Joe Potto giving us all the facts that we need. And of course, the focus is on fertility and expecting moms and family planning. And one of those things that an expecting mom needs to do is to look after herself.